They tested human DNA against the predator index. Humans scored higher than natural-born killers. Dr. Venn adjusted his compound eyes as he prepared the laboratory equipment. The Tolian scientist had conducted this procedure thousands of times over his career. The predator index test was simple, reliable, and never wrong. In 10,000 years of galactic civilization, it had never failed to accurately measure a species' danger level. Today's test subject was special, though. The newest applicants to the Galactic Council had finally arrived: humans. They called their planet Earth, a small blue world in a quiet corner of the galaxy. The laboratory door slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked in, followed by 3 other humans from her delegation. Dr. Venn noticed how they moved, smooth, confident, balanced. Their eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. Forward-facing eyes, he noted mentally, the mark of a predator species. "Good morning, Dr. Venn," Sarah said with a warm smile. "We're ready for the assessment whenever you are." Venn clicked his mandibles in the Tolian gesture of greeting. "Welcome, Ambassador Chen. Please have a seat. This will only take a moment. The predator index is a simple DNA analysis, completely painless." "What exactly does this test measure?" "Every species in the Council has been tested. It helps us understand the natural behaviors and potential risks of each member species." It would collect a DNA sample and process it through the analyzer. Herbivore species typically score between 1 and 3. Omnivores range from 4 to 6. Predator species usually score 7 to 8.5. They evolved by hunting creatures 3 times their size. They scored 8.9. That is why they are council members. He activated the scanner. "Please remain still." The machine was a massive computer system that had been built by the finest minds in the galaxy. It contained genetic data from millions of species across thousands of planets. The analyzer began processing the human DNA. Dr. Venn expected the usual wait time of about 30 seconds. Instead, after only 5 seconds, the machine made a sound he had never heard before. A sharp, urgent alarm. Red lights flashed across the display panel. Dr. Venn's antennae twitched in confusion. Error messages appeared on multiple screens, but these weren't system errors, they were warnings. "Is something wrong?" Sarah asked, concerned. Dr. Venn stared at the numbers appearing on the main screen. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of Tolian distress. This cannot be correct. The machine must be malfunctioning." The numbers were identical. Dr. Venn felt his breathing tubes constrict. In all his years as a scientist, in all the Council's recorded history, he had never seen a score like this. "Dr. Venn, you're making us nervous," Sarah said, standing up. "What do the results say?" "No species has ever scored above 9.0, Dr. Venn whispered. "The Karvath, our fiercest warriors, score 8.9. You score almost a full point higher. We came here seeking friendship and cooperation. There must be some mistake. This is a code Crimson situation. It means the Council must determine whether your species represents an existential threat to galactic civilization." Sarah and her delegation were escorted, politely but firmly, to a secure waiting area. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from 200 species gathered in emergency session. The chamber was a massive dome that could hold thousands. Today, every seat was filled. News of the test results had spread quickly. Chairman Zorath stood at the center podium. The Mundi leader resembled an elephant from Earth, with wise eyes and a dignified bearing. His long trunk curved gracefully as he spoke, his voice amplified to reach every corner of the chamber. "Council members, we face an unprecedented situation," Zorath began. "The predator index has identified a species with danger levels beyond anything in our recorded history. The humans score 9.8. For context, this is higher than the Karvath, higher than the extinct ravagers of Kelmer Prime, higher than any predator species we have ever encountered. According to Protocol 17, no species scoring above 9.0 has ever been granted council membership," Zorath continued, his voice grave. "They are considered too dangerous for integration into galactic civilization. The risk is simply too great." The chamber filled with worried discussions. Zorath raised his trunk for silence. "Before we make any final decisions, we will conduct a full investigation. We will study human history, biology, and behavior. But I must be honest with you all." He paused, his ancient eyes reflecting deep concern. If the evidence confirms what the Predator Index suggests, we may have no choice but to quarantine Earth's solar system. We cannot risk unleashing a species this dangerous upon the galaxy. A planet full of people who dreamed of reaching the stars, of meeting other civilizations, of becoming part of something greater. Now, because of a test she didn't fully understand, all those dreams hung in the balance. A guard approached the window. He was young, clearly nervous. "Ambassador Chen," he said quietly, "is it true? Are humans really that dangerous?" She thought about the long journey to reach this moment. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I hope we get the chance to prove we're more than just a number on a test." Ven stood at the presentation platform, surrounded by holographic displays showing human DNA structures. Behind him, a team of scientists from 12 different species worked frantically, analyzing every piece of data they could gather about Earth and its dominant species. Chairman Zorath addressed the assembly. "We will examine the evidence systematically. Dr. Ven, please present your biological findings." Council members, the human body is designed for pursuit hunting. Observe their leg structure, perfectly adapted for long-distance running. Their cardiovascular system is extraordinarily efficient. Humans can run for hours without stopping. On Earth, humans would follow prey animals for entire days, never stopping, never resting. The prey would run until their hearts gave out from exhaustion. The humans would simply keep coming. It's called persistence hunting, and it's one of the most terrifying predatory strategies in nature. Prey animals have eyes on the sides of their heads to watch for danger. Predators have eyes in front to focus on their target. The molars can grind plant material, yes, but those front teeth are weapons. Humans are omnivores, but their dentition clearly shows significant predatory adaptation. They can grip, manipulate, crush, and most importantly, they can craft tools. No other predator on Earth could make weapons. Humans could. They took their natural hunting abilities and enhanced them with technology. The human healing system is remarkably fast compared to most sentient species. They recover from injuries that would cripple others. Their pain tolerance is abnormally high. Their adrenal response under threat makes them faster, stronger, and more focused. Every biological system seems designed for survival through conflict. Then it zoomed in, showing various time periods from human history. The images were gathered from Earth's own broadcasts and digital archives. Humanity had freely shared their records when applying for council membership. Humans emerged as the dominant species on Earth approximately 200,000 years ago. Within a relatively short time, numerous large animal species began disappearing. Woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, cave bears. The pattern follows human migration routes almost perfectly. Some were hunted for food, others were eliminated because they competed for resources. Some were simply in the way. This is not unusual for a predator species, but the scale is remarkable. Humans reshaped their entire planet's ecosystem. Ven stated, "They have fought over territory, resources, beliefs, and sometimes for reasons that seem incomprehensible to outside observers. They developed increasingly sophisticated weapons, from simple spears to chemical explosives to nuclear devices capable of destroying their entire planet. During a global conflict they call World War II, the devastation convinced them not to use such weapons again, but they still possess thousands of them, enough to end all life on Earth multiple times over." The hologram changed again, this time showing something that made several delegates gasp. It was an Earth canine, a wolf. "This is particularly disturbing," Dr. Ven continued. "These creatures were apex predators themselves, dangerous pack hunters with powerful jaws. Humans did not avoid them or eliminate them. Instead, humans domesticated them. They turned other predators into partners, into friends, into hunting companions. They created an alliance between two predator species. This level of strategic thinking is unprecedented." Ven explained, his voice carrying a note of disbelief. "They voluntarily place themselves in life-threatening situations for enjoyment. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, skydiving. They seek out danger when there is no survival necessity. What you're describing sounds like a species that thrives on challenge and conflict. Notice the themes: warriors, battles, conquest, survival against impossible odds. Even their children's games often simulate hunting or combat scenarios. To the alien observers, it painted a picture of a species obsessed with conflict and competition. At that moment, the chamber doors opened. A massive figure entered, Scaroth, prime hunter of the Karvath. He was 8 feet of armored muscle, with claws that could tear through steel. His species had been the galaxy's most feared warriors for generations. Every delegate in the chamber felt a primal fear when a Karvath entered a room. Scaroth had been brought in for comparison. As the previous highest scorers on the Predator Index, the Karvath were uniquely qualified to assess the human threat. The Prime Hunter approached the central platform. Dr. Venn displayed both species data side by side, Karvath and human. Prime Hunter Scaroth, Chairman Zorath said formally, you have reviewed the human data. What is your assessment? We are born with claws, armor, and venom. We evolved on a world where only the strongest survived. We hunt the most dangerous prey in our system for honor and sustenance. We are what we were born to be. He paused, his eyes reflecting something that looked like concern. Humans are different. They were not born with natural weapons. They created them. They were not the strongest or fastest on their planet. They became the strongest through intelligence and determination. For resources, for territory, for ideology, for revenge, for justice as they define it. They hunt problems themselves, disease, ignorance, limitations. They are persistent predators who apply that same relentless drive to everything. Humans combined tool-making intelligence with predatory instincts. They can plan, adapt, and overcome any obstacle. They never stop coming. In nature, there is no more dangerous combination than intelligence and predatory drive. 473 delegates voted to quarantine Earth's solar system. Only 27 voted against. The decision seemed clear. But before Chairman Zorath could make the ruling official, Ambassador Sarah Chen's voice came through the communication system. She had been watching from the secure waiting area. Chairman Zorath, I request permission to address the Council before your final decision. Permission granted, Ambassador. You have 1 planetary cycle to make your case. She looked at the council members staring back at her through the screen, hundreds of species, all afraid of what humanity might be. She took a deep breath. Honored delegates, I won't argue with your data. The Predator Index isn't wrong about what we are. But it's incomplete about who we are. Her voice was steady, determined. You've examined our capacity for violence. Now let me show you our capacity for something else. Something the Predator Index cannot measure. Let me show you what humans do when we're not afraid, not threatened, not fighting for survival. You must convince this council that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Let's show them who we really are. The future of humanity's place in the galaxy depended on what happened in the next hour. Honored delegates, Sarah began, I will not dispute your findings. The Predator Index accurately measured our biological capabilities. Yes, we are apex predators. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have caused extinctions. These facts are true. It cannot measure what we choose to do with our strength. That whale weighs 40 tons and could crush her with one movement. By predator logic, she should avoid it or perhaps harvest it for resources. Sarah's voice softened. Instead, she spent 16 hours in freezing water, organizing a rescue team, keeping the whale calm, waiting for high tide. She risked her life to save a creature that could never repay her. These are firefighters. Their job is to run toward danger while everyone else runs away. They enter burning buildings to save strangers. They rescue people they've never met and will never see again. Many die doing this. They volunteer for this work. Humans help each other, Sarah said simply. We help strangers. We help those who cannot help us back. We even help those who are different from us. Ambassador, these examples show kindness within your own species. That's common among social animals. It doesn't address your predatory nature. But they weren't alone. A large cat, a tiger cub, was playing with human children. This tiger cub was orphaned when poachers targeted her mother. These humans found her dying in the forest. They could have left her. They could have sold her. Instead, they nursed her back to health, fed her from bottles, kept her warm. Sarah smiled gently. When she was strong enough, they released her back into the wild. She was a predator. They were prey-sized, but they loved her anyway. Humans rehabilitating injured eagles. Humans rescuing trapped dolphins. Humans creating protected reserves for endangered species. Humans nursing sick elephants. Humans hand-raising orphaned gorillas. We bond with other species, Sarah explained. We form emotional connections with creatures that share no genetic relationship with us. We keep predators as companions, dogs, cats, even reptiles. We cry when they die. We grieve for animals we've only seen in pictures. This is unusual behavior for a predator species. Why would you protect creatures you could hunt? Even suffering of beings completely unlike us. We build monuments to honor those who showed mercy, not just those who showed strength. This man, Mahatma Gandhi, led his people to freedom without weapons. This man, Martin Luther King Jr., fought for justice using words, not violence. We celebrate those who build, who heal, who unite. Ambassador, I'm confused. These examples contradict your nature, a predator that deliberately protects the weak. That celebrates nonviolence. This makes no evolutionary sense. A species cannot survive if it fights against its own instincts. Prime Hunter, you're right that it seems contradictory, but that's because you're seeing only half the picture. Humans didn't suppress our predatory instincts. We redirected them. We track it down, study it, and destroy it. We've eliminated smallpox from our entire planet. We're pursuing cancer, searching for ways to defeat it. We're persistence predators, yes, but now we pursue knowledge instead of prey. We study the smallest particles and the largest galaxies. That same drive that made us chase animals across continents now makes us chase answers across the cosmos. You're suggesting that humans have evolved beyond simple predation. But we built civilizations that channel those instincts toward construction instead of destruction. We're predators who learned that cooperation achieves more than competition. We realized something important, Prime Hunter Scaroth, Sarah said, looking at the Karvath warrior. The greatest challenges we face cannot be solved by individual strength. Hunger, disease, ignorance, climate change, these require cooperation. So we learn to redirect our competitive instincts. We compete in sports, in games, in academic achievements. We channel aggression into productive challenges. Instead, he was protecting a group of children from a different country. This soldier's nation was at war with their nation. By military logic, they were enemies. But when he found these children in danger, he risked his life to protect them, because humans can choose. We can look at another being and decide they matter, even when every instinct says they're different, they're other, they're enemy. But we also have the capacity to learn from those mistakes, to feel guilt, to seek redemption, to choose differently. Every major civilization we've built has eventually developed concepts of justice, of rights, of mercy. Not because these things are easy or natural, but because we chose them. We chose to be more than just successful predators. We chose to be civilized. Ven studied the data carefully. Ambassador, your argument is compelling, but it's based on what humans choose to do in peaceful times. What about when resources are scarce? What about under pressure? Would these cooperative instincts hold, or would your predatory nature dominate? What do humans do when survival is at stake? Kindness during abundance is admirable but not conclusive. We need to understand what humans truly are when faced with real pressure. Place the humans in a survival scenario. Give them limited resources and observe their choices. Words can be beautiful, but actions reveal truth. They wanted proof that humans could maintain their values under pressure. She thought about Earth, about billions of people waiting for news. She thought about every human who had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. We accept, Sarah said firmly. Design your test, Prime Hunter. We'll show you what humans truly are, not just what we're capable of, but what we choose to be. The conditions will be challenging. Resources will be limited. We will observe everything. The Karvath warrior's expression was unreadable, but something in his posture suggested respect. One more thing, Ambassador, Scaroth said quietly as she passed. The humans I've read about in your history, they faced impossible odds many times. They survived through determination and adaptability. I hope you prove as resilient as your ancestors. Not just for her and her team, but for all of humanity. They had one chance to prove that humans were more than their predatory instincts. One chance to show that choice mattered more than biology. The future of Earth depended on what happened next. The testing facility was a perfect replica of a harsh alien world. Rocky terrain stretched in every direction, with sparse vegetation and a cold wind that cut through clothing. Sarah Chen and her three team members, Marcus, Alina, and David, stood at the designated starting point, studying their surroundings. A holographic projection of Scaroth appeared before them. Ambassador Chen, welcome to the Survival Challenge. You and your team will remain here for 5 planetary rotations, approximately 6 Earth days. You have basic supplies: water for 3 days, food for 4 days, emergency medical equipment, and standard shelter materials. That's not enough supplies for 4 people for 6 days. 4 researchers will join you. They were studying the terrain when a transport malfunction stranded them here. They are now part of your survival group. They looked nervous, carrying minimal supplies of their own. We're grateful for any help, one Tolian said, his mandibles clicking anxiously. We're scientists, not survivalists. 8 minds are better than 4. The test was designed to push the humans toward their breaking point, to see if they would turn on the weaker Tolians when resources became scarce. Dr. Ven monitored the video feeds closely. The humans don't know this is staged. Their responses will be genuine. Marcus, scout the area for defensible positions. Alina, assess our supplies and create a rationing plan. David, check for water sources. We're not very strong. Your knowledge is valuable. We have enough for 3 days if we're careful. Food will last 4 days with strict rationing. That leaves us short for the final 2 days. Everyone gets equal shares. We'll find more resources, we just need to be smart about it. The humans included the Tolians in every decision, never treating them as burdens. In the observation station, Dr. Ven noted this behavior with interest. They're maintaining social cohesion. No signs of predatory aggression toward the weaker members. Half their water supply spilled onto the ground, seeping into the rocky soil before anyone could save it. Sarah woke to find the Tolian standing over the spilled water, mandibles trembling with distress. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, I was trying to get a drink and I knocked it over. Alina was shivering despite her thermal blanket. One of the Tolians, Observer T9, had developed what appeared to be a genuine cold-weather illness. In the observation station, the council leaned forward. This was the critical moment: scarce resources. A member who had made a costly mistake, a sick individual consuming resources, classic conditions that triggered predatory survival instincts. David's voice was sharp with frustration. We need that water. How could you be so careless? It was an accident. Getting upset won't bring the water back. Here's the new plan. We ration more strictly. Marcus and I will scout for additional water sources. We'll expand our search radius. Alina, see if we can collect morning dew somehow. We'll make this work. He's using supplies but can't contribute to finding more. That's not who we are. The humans spent their energy searching for additional resources rather than fighting over existing ones. Dr. Ven watched in fascination. They're protecting the weak. They're choosing to disadvantage themselves to help others. They're genuinely cooperating. This isn't strategy, it's instinct for them. Group survival, not individual survival. An automated defense drone, designed to simulate a dangerous predator, detected the camp and moved to investigate. Alarms blared throughout the facility. The drone was massive, with sensor arrays that glowed red in the darkness. It moved on multiple legs, emitting threatening sounds. It was programmed to test whether the humans would use the Tolians as distractions or shields. Marcus saw it first. Everyone up, we have incoming. The logical survival strategy would be to scatter, let the Tolians slow it down while the humans escaped. That's what most predator species would do. Instead, Marcus shouted, "Get behind us, now." Sarah grabbed an improvised torch. Alina armed herself with a heavy rock. David found a sturdy branch. They formed a defensive line, protecting the weaker members. "We can't fight that thing," one Tolian cried. "We're not fighting it," Sarah called back. "We're buying time." "Alina, what are those sensor arrays?" "If we can disrupt the sensors." "Tolians, when I give the signal, run to the cave. Stay low. We'll cover you." The humans held their position, continuing to distract the creature. Marcus took a calculated risk, drawing its attention toward himself and away from the fleeing researchers. One of the drone's appendages struck near him, and he barely rolled away in time. In the observation station, Scaroth stood abruptly. That human just risked his life for beings of another species, under conditions of extreme threat. This is. But before the humans could even process what happened, real alarms began sounding throughout the station, these ones genuine. An automated voice echoed through the facility. Warning! Hull breach in Sector 7. Hostile entities detected. All personnel evacuate immediately. Ven's eyes widened in horror as he checked the monitors. Void parasites? They've breached the defense grid. Sector 7, that's where the Carveth Educational Center is located. My people's younglings are in that sector. How long until security arrives? The younglings are trapped. Those are children in danger. Those are kids, we're going. You can either help us or get out of our way. Because that's what humans did. Chairman Zorath watched their trajectory on the monitors, his voice barely a whisper. They're really going. Even after everything, they're running toward the threat. The corridor was chaos, emergency lights flashing red automated barriers trying to seal the breach, and the sound of high-pitched distress calls echoing through the halls. Through the transparent walls, they could see them. Void parasites. Small creatures individually, but deadly in swarms. Their bodies were dark and glossy, with sharp appendages and acidic secretions that burned through metal. Hundreds of them poured through a crack in the hull. And beyond them, trapped in the educational center, were 12 Carvath younglings. Marcus assessed the situation with military precision. The parasites are blocking the main exit. Security won't reach them in time. Those kids have maybe 90 seconds before the swarm overruns their position. They don't know how to fight. There's a maintenance corridor that bypasses the main breach. We can reach the younglings from the side. Elena, you're our science expert. What's the weakness of these parasites? They're sensitive to sonic frequencies. They use echolocation to navigate, if we can disrupt that. Ven's mandibles clicked rapidly. They're not waiting for authorization. They're not waiting for security. They're just going in. This is suicide. Sarah's team moved through the maintenance corridor, crawling through tight spaces designed for repair drones. The sound of the parasite's clicking mandibles grew louder. Almost there, Marcus whispered. David, how's that sonic deterrent? Should being the key word. Sarah held up her hands peacefully. We're here to help. Stay behind us. They say you're dangerous. What happened next would be replayed across the galaxy for generations. David activated his sonic device. The parasite's coordinated movement immediately faltered, their echolocation disrupted, but there were too many of them. They kept coming. Form a perimeter, Sarah shouted. Protect the younglings. But the parasites found gaps. They swarmed around the humans' defenses. Sarah felt the first bite, a parasite latching onto her arm. The acid burned through her sleeve, searing her skin. She gritted her teeth and knocked it away, refusing to break formation. Marcus took multiple hits, protecting a youngling who had frozen in fear. The acid ate through his clothing and blistered his skin, but he didn't move from his position. You're okay, kid. I've got you. David held his ground at the weakest point in their defense, taking the brunt of the assault. His device was working, barely, but it wasn't enough. Parasites were getting through. In the observation center, Scaroth watched his people's children being protected by beings who had no reason to risk themselves. Humans who had been tested, judged, and treated with suspicion. Yet here they were, bleeding and burned, refusing to abandon children of another species. They're going to die, Dr. Ven whispered, his voice filled with horror and awe. No, Scaroth said, rising to his full height. They're not. He activated his communicator. All security teams converge on Sector 7 immediately. Move faster. Those humans are buying time with their lives. They deployed sonic nets and containment fields, quickly overwhelming the parasite swarm. But the humans didn't stop. Even as trained security took over, Marcus made sure every single youngling was safely behind the security line before he allowed himself to stumble. Sarah conducted a headcount 3 times to ensure all 12 children were accounted for. Only when the last youngling was confirmed safe did the humans finally lower their improvised weapons. Marcus collapsed from his injuries. Elena swayed on her feet, her back covered in acid burns. David's arms were trembling from pain. Sarah's uniform was torn and bloodied, but she managed to ask the security chief, "Are the children okay? Did we get them all?" As the humans were loaded onto stretchers, the Karvath younglings gathered around them. The brave one who had spoken earlier touched Marcus's hand gently. "You saved us," the youngling said, his voice filled with wonder. "You're hurt badly. Why did you help us?" "We're not your people." The doctors were amazed at how quickly the humans' bodies began repairing the damage. But the acid burns were severe, and recovery would take time. Scaroth visited them personally, his imposing form filling the doorway of the medical room. He approached Marcus's bed first, his expression showing something no council member had seen before, a Karvath Prime hunter with tears in his eyes. "You saved our children," Scaroth said, his voice thick with emotion. "You took injuries that would have destroyed those younglings. You used your bodies as shields. Why?" Then he did something unprecedented in Karvath culture. He knelt, lowering himself to be at eye level with the injured humans, a gesture of deepest respect. "I designed a test to reveal your true nature under pressure," he said quietly. "I thought it would show whether humans were threats to be feared. Instead, you showed me something I didn't expect." He paused. "You showed me that the highest score on the Predator Index doesn't measure danger, it measures potential. And humans have chosen to use that potential for protection instead of domination. Council members, we have witnessed something extraordinary. The humans faced multiple tests, some designed, one horrifyingly real. In every case, they chose protection over self-preservation. They defended the weak. They shielded our children with their own bodies." Ven stood to present his final analysis. "I have completed my study of human behavior under pressure. The Predator Index was correct. Humans possess exceptional predatory capabilities, but we failed to understand what that means. Humans evolved as apex predators, yes. But they also evolved as social cooperators. They can be fierce when needed, but they channel that ferocity toward protection. Their refusal to abandon the vulnerable. These are not the actions of a species that will threaten the galaxy. These are the actions of potential guardians. We have been the Council's primary peacekeepers for centuries. Today, I formally recommend that humans be invited to join the Peacekeeping Corps alongside my people." His voice rang with conviction. Who better to defend the innocent than a species that combines a predator's capabilities with a protector's heart? 3 days later, Sarah stood in the Grand Council chamber, her arm still bandaged from her injuries. The formal acceptance ceremony was attended by representatives from every council species. Chairman Zorath placed the council emblem in her hands, a symbol of membership and responsibility. "Ambassador Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to the community of civilized species. We were wrong to judge you by your potential for violence alone. We should have looked for your capacity for choice. Humans have shown us that strength's greatest purpose is protection, that predatory instincts can serve compassionate goals, and that the fiercest warriors can also be the gentlest guardians. We promise to honor this trust. We will use our strength to protect, our determination to solve problems, and our persistence to build a better future, not just for humanity, but for all species in this council." The Karvath Prime Hunter nodded with profound respect. "Welcome to the Peacekeeping Corps, Ambassador," he said. "We will be proud to stand beside humans in defense of the galaxy." The message was simple, but carried the weight of destiny. Let us make our ancestors proud by being worthy guardians of the peace we sought. They would become known across the galaxy not as the species with the highest Predator Index score, but as the species who proved that nature doesn't determine destiny. Because in the end, what made humans exceptional wasn't their capacity for violence. It was their capacity for choice, and they chose compassion,